Hello and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are doing our first ever reaction video onto the YouTube channel, and today we are reacting to how West Ham set up under Lopetegui by James Lawrence Alcott. Now let's get straight into it. This is my first reaction video that I've ever done on the channel, so make sure to like if you do enjoy the new sort of concept. And yeah, if you want me to react to anything more, let me know what I want. Let me know what you want me to react to next. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it.
So West Ham may be on the verge of something special under Lopetegui, but how is he going to do it, and how important is his rebuild over the summer going to be? So this snippet here is directly from the West Ham website, and it is suggesting that Lopetegui will play a possession-based 4-3-3 formation. Revealing your hand, West Ham. You must be confident. But what's the truth here? And is there a downside to any of this? So before Wolves, after coaching at various youth levels with Spain and
It's actually interesting that they put it on the website, because I think that they know, because they have this whole PR thing. Every club does it. I think that they know that fans will want to hear that sort of thing when it comes to what their expectation is. Sorry, I just slapped my mic. What their expectation of the new manager is, and obviously they know that West Ham fans want to play football, so they've definitely done that on purpose. I don't actually know too much about Lopetegui outside of Wolves and Sevilla. I know he was briefly at Spain and Real Madrid, but obviously James will probably explain that a bit more.
Forgettable 10-match spell with Rayo Vallecano. Lopetegui's second senior managerial job came with Porto, where he was given the biggest budget the club had ever given a manager at the time. His time at Porto didn't go down that well, and even with the heavy investment into the team, he couldn't get a tune out of them. So after being sacked in January, he was then surprisingly given the Spain job 5 months later, in July 2016, where he took over from the legendary coach Vincent Del Bosque. He did well at Spain, going undefeated during World Cup qualifying and utilising that preferred 4-3-3, but he was dismissed by Spain after he took the Real Madrid job before the 2018 World Cup. He only lasted 4 months in that job, with a 5-1 El Clasico defeat being the final straw.
I think that's one of people's only things when it comes to Lopetegui, is the way he has left certain places. There's been a bit of discontent with people and stuff, but he seems to be happy here so far. He has only just joined. Obviously, he did leave Wolves because of I'm pretty sure because he wasn't happy with the squad and the whole money situation and stuff, and the fact that he couldn't spend. But hopefully, because of the structure that we have, that he'll be happy here, and we'll see what he can do.
Grace for his career came a year later at Sevilla, where he went on to win the Europa League after being in charge for 7 months. But again, a 4-1 defeat to Dortmund this time, and overall poor form saw him sacked. And next, of course, it was Wolves, where he did very well in the Premier League. But what we really need to talk about is the fact that when he took over at Wolves, they were bottom of the table at Christmas.
People forget that.
He masterminded a comfortable mid-table finish. So it sounds pretty good, but Wolves were still the bottom scorers in the Premier League in that season. So let's take a closer look at it. And a really pivotal win during his time at Wolves was the win at Everton at Goodison Park on Boxing Day in 2022. And we're going to show you why this match and the tactics that are used here are so important when it comes to West Ham. So this was the lineup on that day. It's a 4-3-3, but how it looked within the context of the game could leave West Ham fans feeling pretty excited, I think. But if
that's probably going to be similar to how we set up, of course. Obviously, they had Craig Dawson, so it doesn't mean that Lopetegui can't work under, no nonsense defenders. We obviously prefer a Max Kilman, who we are actually linked with, someone that actually wants to get on the ball and play and stuff. So I reckon he will like a Mavropanos and stuff like that. But that's why centre backs and forwards are probably so important, because obviously he's an attacking manager. We actually need, a decent front three, and we can't just shove, Kudus on the left and stuff like that. We actually need to get the best out of, playing players in their right positions and stuff like that.
Maneuver that 4-3-3 in its basic textbook form and put it into the average positions, it actually looks like this. Now, this may look like a confusing mess, but as we progress in this video, we're going to explain why each position is important and exciting, I think, within this tactical setup that Lopetegui clearly loves. So in terms of centre-backs and goalkeepers, the setup is pretty straightforward. Lopetegui likes defenders who can defend, but are also competent enough with the ball. And whilst they don't have to be John Stones, I think they want those players to be able to get on the ball and help with that build-up because of where the fullbacks play. And we'll show...
It probably won't be the centre-back partnership either, because it looks like both centre-backs will either leave this season or next season, you know.
That's important next. So this could mean trouble for Kurt Zouma.
Yep.
Because I'm not sure he fits into what Lopetegui necessarily wants.
He doesn't.
But for the time being, we've put Zouma in there because it's him or Mavropanos. And I guess if you think about Dawson with Wolves, it was, you know, he's a kind of proper defender, let's say. And he did well. He always does well, doesn't he, Dawson?
Mavropanos will definitely play more than Zouma, though, under Lopetegui. I think, well, if Zuma's either going to go this season or next season on a free, we need to sell him immediately this summer.
So we've gone between him and Mavropanos. We've gone with Zouma to start with because you're not going to fix this straight away in terms of how he wants to change it. Don't be surprised, though, if they go and buy a replacement in that position. They've also got Luizão available, but since he's left-footed, he's still behind Agard, who I actually really, really like. So,
I haven't seen anything of Luizão. I don't think this guy is going to break through. I heard rumours of him going to leave. I don't know what we're going to do with him. I didn't really see the point of signing him, to be completely honest, but I thought he was also going to break through to the first team, but that's quite a pointless signing.
All of the centre-backs will be to move the ball into these three key areas. And that's where the whole system comes to fruition. And what happens in this space is crucial in how Lopetegui's teams attack and create chances. And this screenshot here is exactly why it's important. I want to highlight three players here. Semedo, if I can, he's kind of hiding under here, if you can see him down the bottom. Matheus Nunes and Hwang Hee-chan. These three players are really, really important. And the reason they're important is because of the interplay and the movement between these three. And because of these triangles, these types of triangles that are so key in Lopetegui's play style. Interestingly, Wolves actually played a back three in this game, but they then reverted to the 4-3-3 in the second half, and you can see why it's important in this segment of play. So that's it.
Hopefully we don't have to see any three in the back stuff at West Ham for any longer now that Moyes has gone. Obviously, I don't mind three in the back formations, but it's just I don't want to approach three in the backs the way Moyes used to, by just sitting five men behind, you know, the halfway line and just hitting it down the channels, you know. Hopefully he just sticks to the 4-3-3 that he likes, Lopetegui, you know, gets the best out of the players that we have. And it should get the best out of, you know, the Kuduses and the Bowens, etc.
Nunez has the ball and he plays that pass to Semedo, who's quite high up. If you think about, you know, being defensively strong and solid, and you think of those two centre-backs, they're actually a little bit exposed here, but there's a confidence and a desire to utilise these fullbacks. But why? Well, the reason is the movement of that midfielder, Matheus Nunes, not actually Semedo himself. He's almost a bit of a decoy. He's almost a bit of a pivot player for the team. Because what's important here is the body language and, importantly, the movement of Matheus Nunes. So Matheus Nunes plays that pass and he goes. And Hwang Hee-chan, as you can see in the far right of your screen, he is making that parallel movement. If we move it along one, you can see exactly what I mean. So the ball makes its way to him. And the important thing with Matheus Nunes is he makes that run behind on the blind side of the midfielder here.
The thing is, as he just pointed out with the midfielder running in behind right there, yeah, we don't really have a midfielder like that. Like Ward-Prowse isn't mobile enough to do that. I think Ward-Prowse will fit within a 4-3-3. Will play way better in a possession-based system. Souček definitely can't. By the time he gets to running behind, I'm pretty sure the opposition team will be in our box. Like, he's just not mobile enough. And I don't think we're going to sign a midfielder, only because the Alexis Garcia guy obviously went to Leverkusen. And also we are going to be trying to see if a Freddie Potts, George Urphy, or Flynn Downs wants to come through, you know, in the 6 or the 8 or the 10. I reckon Freddie Potts or George Urphy will probably go out on loan, but hopefully one of them can stay with us if we're not going to sign a centre midfielder. That might be one of the later signings, but we need to get forward and centre backs immediately.
You can see instead of coming this way in front of him where he can then see him, he actually makes it really difficult by going down that blind side. Semedo knows that pass is coming. Hwang Hee-chan knows that he needs to come and get that ball as well in terms of being a lateral, moving the back line backwards and therefore leaving this space here for Matheus Nunes, who has gone on the blind side and has now in behind that midfield and can attack that defense and create a chance. And if we move it on one more, you can see exactly what I mean in terms of it opening up the opposition. That quick interchange, that triangle between the three of them, 1, 2, 3, has worked absolutely brilliantly there, utilizing the width, getting in behind, and now all of a sudden Matheus Nunes has got the ball and is driving. And as we move it on that little bit further, you can see he's now got the opposition backpedaling. They're in trouble. You're in behind the midfield. You're in those half spaces that everyone talks about, of course. And he has now got options to play the pass, or go himself for a and try and get himself a goal. And
the thing is, if that type of football comes off as well, it can actually improve like the atmosphere within the crowd as well, because they're only gonna, bounce off what they see off the pitch. Like when I go there, it's so dead. Like London Stadium is never really a place to create an atmosphere unless it's a big European night. But sound doesn't travel well throughout the stadium, to be completely honest with you. However, what the fans are only gonna bounce off what they see on the pitch as well. So I reckon if that type of football comes off, we could create a really good atmosphere for home games, and maybe that can like almost translate into a good home run, which is what we need. We need teams to come to our stadium and feel like, okay, it's going to be a difficult day going to the London Stadium, because I feel like that hasn't been the case the past couple of years.
The score from this action. So those triangles really, really crucial for Wolves in terms of how they utilize movement. And it's a direct style of play, but not in the air, which is, I think, is really important here for West Ham fans to be excited about. It's quite slick, it's one-touch stuff, but importantly, it puts opposition defenders in uncomfortable positions where they're backpedaling. The criticism of Lopetegui will be that this didn't happen enough at Wolves. And whilst the ideas were there, they didn't see it frequently enough. So from a West Ham perspective, this is how it could look. And this is how the triangles would mostly look like for West Ham. But I want to touch on a couple of things that I have questions about when it comes to this setup. And it doesn't utterly feel right in the gut, I'll be honest, when it comes to West Ham. But I think Lopetegui is obviously a good coach. And so you imagine that he would...
This is the thing. If you look at that lineup here, obviously, it's just a draft lineup. I reckon Kudus will probably play in the midfield 3 a bit more. The reason why I say that is because Luis Guilherme signed. We should be signing a left winger. If we don't, that'll be very disappointing. Unless Luis Guilherme is the left winger. And Paquetá, like whether it's Paquetá or Ward-Prowse or whoever, let's say Luis Guilherme guy has signed to play on the right, for example, Kudus would definitely move in the middle. There's no point in having 3 people on the right. And it's also, I'm pretty sure Kudus would prefer to play in the middle. I actually do think we would get more out of him if he was to play in the middle as well.
Develop the players or get in the players that he wants to make it work. Now, firstly, I really like Alvarez as a defensive midfielder. I think he's fantastic in ball recovery. Let's highlight him, shall we? He had 4.62 tackles and interceptions per 90 last season, which speaks for itself. But the 6 in Lopetegui's system is so important to the whole side. And at Wolves, Lopetegui had Ruben Neves.
Yep, he did.
And he's doing this fantastic deep line playmaker role. And we've not seen that from Alvarez in the Premier League. But his 7.77 progressive passes per 90 at Ajax in his final season over there, I think it bodes really, really well. The time will.
That's the thing. Like Alvarez didn't really get to show that, obviously, last season in the Premier League because it was under David Moyes and stuff, and we don't pass through teams. We put the ball in the air once we've passed it short to our centre backs, which doesn't really make any sense. I don't know whether that was to draw in the team or whatever, but for whatever reason, it didn't work. It was also passing to, Ward-Prowse in the 10 or passing to Paquetá on the left and stuff like that. But I do think we'll see a better Alvarez next season. I do believe, dictating from the number 6 and stuff like that. I believe he can dictate play. And obviously at the start of the season when he was playing as the lone 6 as well, it was way better. When we were playing against Brighton, when we played against Chelsea, well, not against Chelsea, like games after when we played that Brighton away game, against Luton, for example, he was picking the ball up the back 4 and just find line splitting passes. But for some reason, we decided to change the same old boring 4-2-3-1 as we did, later in the season.
On that one. My next problem is this man, Soufal. So now both fullbacks are going to be given license, and they're going to be told to stay very high and engage in the attack frequently. And I'm not too sure that Soufal has that in him, and getting up and down so frequently. I think it could leave him a little bit exposed. So that is a little bit of a concern. Next, we've got the biggest problem, in my opinion, and that's this man here, Paquetá, because he's actually perfect for the system. And I think he would kill it in those half spaces, given the chance. However, we don't even know if he'll be allowed to play football again next season or again full stop, which makes it obviously very hard to plan for West Ham and hurts them from a financial point of view, because he is such a valuable player who you can make a lot of money on. Not in a...
That's the thing. Like, I think Paquetá will play football, but that's hindered a lot of our, transfer inspirations. I get that, because we were banking on that 85 million. However, unless we're in some Everton, Nottingham Forest, FFP sort of risk, there's not really many excuses to, spend, especially on the positions that we desperately need. I'm not expecting a full rebuild, of course, but depending on Ben Johnson, if Ben Johnson says we're going to need a right back, but we need a forward, a left winger, we need a striker, and centre backs, as I've said throughout this video.
Sense. You know what I mean? From a transfer, I don't mean a transfer for a bet. That's not allowed with these lads. And Man City wanted him. You know what I mean? But hey, come on, let's talk about the positives here, because there are two massive positives right here, and that's these two. Kudus and Bowen will both be told to stay high when attacking, and their individual quality will be lent upon heavily when it comes to combining with those 2 8s in the system.
True, but Kudus won't. We won't get the best out of Mohamed Kudus playing him off the left. It makes him less dangerous in terms of a goal score for a goal scoring aspect. That's why I said he'll play a lot more in the middle. Let's say Paquetá was allowed to play. At times, you might see us play Paquetá here, Kudus here, and just Alvarez here, because Paquetá can still do the dog work off the ball. Kudus is very good at winning the ball high up the pitch, etc. Depending on how we press and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, it won't stop Kudus' creativity aspects and stuff like that, but it will stop Kudus from a goal scoring point of view. That's why I think we need to find a way to play these three together: Paquetá, Kudus, and Bowen.
And because of this, they should see themselves in a lot of scoring situations. That is, if Lopetegui doesn't struggle with frequent chance creation like he did at Wolves. And we'll talk about the solution to this after we talk about the last position, striker. So at Wolves, Lopetegui had Diego Costa and Raul Jimenez, and never really got the best out of either of them from a scoring perspective. Costa only scored 1 goal during his time at Wolves, but we're going to break it down and show you the key principles of a Lopetegui striker and what it means for West Ham. So here we have Diego Costa with his back to goal, and that's an important part of the striker role in Lopetegui's system. And actually, the movement of Sarabia is really interesting as well, because you can see he is on his bike. Norgard is struggling here, but it's because Sarabia knows exactly what he's got to do, because Diego Costa is looking to suck in those players as that hold-up man, and therefore that space in behind is there. And there is no one else taking players away and allowing, for example, this player here to have to think about Sarabia as much as Diego Costa, who is going.
That's going to be interesting to see what type of striker we go in for then, if we do go after a striker, because as you can see with the Sarabia run over here, that's going to benefit Jarrett Bowen, just dancing, running in behind. That's why I feel like he can get 20 goals from the right wing position, because look how many goals he got under David Moyes. He could get more next season.
Away from the goal, and therefore he feels is less of a danger. And the importance of this from Sarabia is that Lopetegui's side will go direct at times, and a big striker is obviously key to that. So moving from back to goal and transitioning into attack is also really, really important as a part of their tactical approach, as it again takes advantage of a disjointed backline and again targets backpedaling defenders, as I've just shown you there. And if we follow this passage of play, it's very interesting in how direct, but again, the ball is on the floor. So let's move it forward. As I said, you've got a player here, a defender here, who is concerned with Sarabia's movement. And Costa knows that as well, and he's a good target man. And so if we move it along one more, what we see is that Diego Costa actually is able to turn with the ball. he's able to turn out to his right because that defender that we were talking about has had to follow Sarabia. Now, Sarabia wants to get on the ball, but we'll get there. And of course, let's look at the timings actually of this. It's really interesting as well because look, we've got 26.44, 4 seconds later, as we said, there's that curled run from Diego Costa. Instead of just playing the ball backwards, he's actually utilized the space that's there, again, because they've gone direct, and therefore he knows that this space is all here for him. And he also knows, he's seen it, Sarabia is moving that way, that's taken that defender that way as well. But as we move it along, he then looks to attack that space, but Wolves themselves are looking to get bodies forward, and he's looking to utilize the width of the pitch and play a pass out wide. Let's move it on one more, and you will see, and once he's made that movement, a striker wants to get on the ball. Can you turn into space with these defenders all backpedaling, as we've spoken about, something Lopetegui likes to see, to stretch it, to get them backpedaling, and therefore not having the structure that they want to have. And then, of course,
I feel like it's going to be also interesting to see how much we counter as much as usual. I mean, there was a big sting out of the counter attack inside that we saw last season because of a mishmash of profiles. Of some players just wanted to slow down the game and keep the ball. Some players that actually do benefit more off the counter attack, But this is going to benefit a lot of runners in behind. Hopefully we get a more fast squad as well. We forget Maxwell Cornet is still at this club, so hopefully there's a part for him to play in this, and I feel like he'll suit these sort of situations that James has demonstrated right here as well.
Importantly, you've got to have those wide players high up the pitch to go and help you. And that's what Diego Costa does. He's able to play that pass high up. We keep moving it forward. This is all very quickly done. And so within 9 seconds, the ball has gone into Diego Costa's feet. And now we've got a cross that's come in, and you've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the way, and a very, very sort of exposed situation for the defensive side as well. So that emphasis on the switch is to move the ball to that wide area so they can take advantage of the space and put in that percentage ball into the box. Now, sadly, there are still some unanswered questions that we've alluded to at times during the video, and we're about to talk about them right now. And we're going to talk about this image that we spoke about earlier and how it can look from a West Ham perspective. Whilst we answer those questions, for the time being, we're going to put Antonio in as the striker. If you think about the work that Diego Costa did, being able to hold up the ball, being able to turn with the ball, being able to drive with the ball, play a simple pass, and then get up in the box, Antonio is fully capable of that. And so actually, I know, look, he's a little bit older, whatever, I still like him, and I think he's got a lot to offer. But I would say in the transfer window, that is going to be a key area to look to address, so they're thinking about the future and the present as well. So this is how I expect it to look now. And what I must say and apologize for is that I previously had Zuma this side and Agurd this side. It would be the other way around. So if you've written a comment about that, then feel free to leave it up there. But I apologize again.
To be fair, I don't really blame him for that. He did have Dawson and Kilman the other side, so right foot, left foot. It will probably be Mavropanos here anyway, as I said earlier. Hopefully, maybe a Max Kilman either here or here, but if we're still after Jacob Greaves, which I don't think we are, hopefully we sign him, we'll put him here. Maybe it's a Perez from, the guy from Udinese, but centre back is really important in any side, in any system, and we desperately need one.
Yeah, despite that mistake, and mistakes happen. Okay. Now, one player that I expect big things from is Emerson, because Nuri and Juego Bueno was muy bueno, and both thrived under Lopetegui. Soufal on the other side, though, not really sure. Antonio will likely be dropping pretty deep to be that backboard in central areas and to provide simple, progressive passing options for his teammates. Meanwhile, expect James Ward-Prowse to be knitting things together on that right-hand side. I think Ward-Prowse in this position would be really useful, and I think he can get forward into those half spaces and deliver those sort of KDB-style crosses to the back post. This may not be possible with Bowen expected to take up similar positions, so that's where I feel a bit unsure about it as well. He's not actually the biggest sort of dribbler, obviously, because his superpower when it comes to Ward-Prowse is passing. And so will it totally suit him as well? And it might be one where you want someone to be able to drive the ball that little bit more. That's why Paquetá would be so impressive in this. And my worry is that this team has some holes in it.
But that's why I also think Mohamed Kudus is going to drive with the ball right here. I think Mohamed Kudus is going to pick up the ball from these positions and drive with it here, So I think that will be the driving force from that right side of midfield right there. And then Bowen maybe over around here, sort of thing.
Align with what Lopetegui wants to do, and they will need new faces to fix this. But the good news is that it looks like some are on their way. It's also very believable that West Ham will go big in the summer because Lopetegui wouldn't be there if it wasn't the case. And you can see that in how he left Wolves. So with the young Brazilian players, Luis Guilherme and Vital coming in, there is a lot to be excited about, but a lot of pressure on them to hit the ground running because that's where the majority of the funds are going. However, if they manage to seal a deal for Silva Jota, they'll have yet another exciting winger on their hands, which adds much needed depth in those areas of the pitch. But I think the biggest pursuit has to be a striker. Do that, and they could get Europe. Without one, it worries me.
That was a good video by James. I can't lie. That was a good video, good insight to see, how Lopetegui's going to play and how he can all incorporate, the players that we already have and buy new players and stuff. So, listen, that was a good video. I'm going to leave the original video in the description. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you are new. Social medias are in the description if you want to follow me in the email for the inquiries. I'll see you guys later.